But thank you everybody for coming to our monthly webinar. Today we're just talking about relationships. I know all of our businesses are based on the kind of relationships we create, how we grow them. And it's more than just like a transactional business. We want to create relationships with people and then turn them into advocates for us as well, refer them to their friends and family. So I'm interested to hear what Jennifer has some good insight on all of that. Maybe we can get some good takeaways from this. So Jennifer, I'll hand it over to you, and I guess we'll just, we'll save questions, or feel free to put something in the chat if you have a question along the way.
Yep, definitely. I'll keep an eye out for the chat as well. But I'll have questions at the end as well. And if you stay till the end, I do have something to take with you. I have a QR code at the end, and it has a little guide at the end too, going over some of the things that I go through on this class. So today we are going to be talking about the relationship revolution, turning clients into lifetime advocates. This is one of my favorite kind of areas to talk about too. And just a little bit about me. I won't spend too much time on this at all, but my name is Jennifer McAlpine. I'm a marketing technology director. I work with the MyHome division, which is an agency division of WFG, which is a title underwriter for Rally Point Title. And we work in partnership with them. I've been in this role for about 3 years, almost 3 years, and I've had about 18 years of marketing experience. Before I came here, I was actually working for Compass Real Estate out of the Northern California division, and I was the head of marketing there with about 3,000 plus agents, 40 offices, 50 employees. It was one of their largest divisions. And I also was the head of marketing operations too. And what's interesting, I started working in real estate, working for a small boutique brokerage, like smaller in size, but definitely not smaller in volume, out of Silicon Valley. I'm originally from California, moved to Florida in 2019, like literally months before the pandemic, right? Just slightly ahead of the curve. And I was working remotely for them. But when I first got into real estate, is that I worked for a small boutique brokerage. It was called Alon Pinnell. People had been there for 25 plus years. It was a great place, great way to get into real estate. And their philosophy was, even if you're not buying a luxury home, we believe in giving luxury service each and every time. And that's what they wanted people to take away with them. And so this really resonated with me as before I got into real estate, I started working in e-commerce, digital marketing. And if you like golf, follow golf at all, I worked for Pebble Beach Company for about 5 years and headed their e-commerce division. That same kind of philosophy resonated in that area, and I was trained in what we call the Pebble Beach way. So very customer service driven. So enough about me. Let's kind of move on and get into this. So I like to throw in a few call outs, whether that be stats, some quotes, things like that, just to kind of get a better understanding and deeper understanding of what we're going to be talking about. So this one, it says 91% of buyers say that they would use their agent again, yet only 12 do, and that's by NAR. So why? Because most agents don't stay in touch after the transaction. I think a lot of us know this, right? It's something that's pretty common knowledge, but I think it's worth understanding and diving into why, and then what are the areas that could help you as a real estate agent kind of utilize a system and a process that would help you with that, right? Because a lot of the time I would hear from agents, well, I don't have time, I forget, I don't have a system in place, all reasonable and understandable things, right? We all get frustrated. So how do we shift that? So this class is more about changing that, keeping clients for life without significant extra work, right? Because I think that would probably be a turnoff at this point. We don't want extra work. We want streamlined work. And so about that is, like I said, shifting the focus. And, really some of the best agents that I've ever worked with don't just sell houses. They create brand experiences that turn clients into advocates for them and their business. So a few key takeaways that I want to make sure that you have after this class is learning how to build unforgettable client experiences. And being that the day and age is what it is using AI and automation to increase efficiency while still staying personal. And I believe where this intersection meets between high touch and using AI or different types of automations, right there is kind of that what I call, like, from economic term, the equilibrium point, like that's the happy point. So implementing systems that drive referrals and repeat business. And of course, while staying personal all the time through this. So let's talk a little bit about the power of relationships within real estate. So I really like to put forth that relationship first mindset, right? Because really agents don't want to think of it all in transactions. You want to think in lifetime value of the client. So example of this was maybe a client that buys and refers two people and moves again, then you have 4+ transactions. Another example I would give, kind of when I'm talking about luxury, is that when you're dealing with a luxury clientele, you have the opportunity to almost have three transactions or three opportunities in one. So when you're dealing with that, you have maybe a client that is going to have their primary residence. Maybe they're going to have an investment property, and maybe they're going to have a secondary home. So if we think a little bit differently in regards to approaching the customer and the business opportunity around that and a lifetime value, it kind of has the same concept. So ultimately, the goal here is to be that real estate person for forever and lifetime of that particular client, but each of their family members' clients as well. When I would work at Pebble Beach, we would have people that would have, having this experience on their bucket list, right? And what they would do is not only have it on their bucket list, but they would generationally bring people with them, their grandkids, their kids, their cousins, everybody, right? They wanted to share that experience, right? So diving into that a little bit. So why do clients forget, right? And how do we prevent that? So 80% of real estate business comes from referrals or past clients, and that's directly from NAR. So most agents fail because they disappear after closing. And it's understandable, right? We get very busy. There's different things that go on. So what do high performant agents do a little bit differently? They create specific touch points that really matter and are really quality touch points. And I'll get into that. But it is being on a level of being personal, just not professional. They stay memorable throughout service and connection. And as we go through here, I've kind of put in a few tips of kind of, if you want to use AI, specifically ChatGPT, to kind of help with that efficiency, to move it a little bit more forward. So this one is a tip for using AI for personalized follow-ups. So a couple of ideas around this are creating unique closing gift based on the client's interest. Now we know this, right? But what if you were to put into, say, ChatGPT and say, I have a client that likes XYZ. They're moving into a home in this particular area. These are some of the call outs that they really liked within this home. Is there something that you can recommend for a personalized gift? Does not have to be, and you can say this or not say it. It doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to be overly expensive. Can you give me some ideas on those personalized gifts? And I'll give you a list. So you're not only using it as an efficiency purpose, but you're guiding it to that personalization point. So another one is maybe crafting a personalized check-in message for home anniversaries, great. And creating seasonal, like just thinking of you messages, just saying hi. An example of this, I am in the mode for getting a newer car because I have two teenagers at home, right, that are driving age, and I'm going to give them my car. Well, I went to test drive. I'm like the worst person at buying cars because I don't like the salespeople. But this one particular location that I went to, the salesperson was amazing, totally non-pressure, because I said up front, I'm not buying a car now. I'm not doing this. These are my limitations. And she just checked in on me 2 weeks ago to say hello. And I was like, okay, you got me right there, just to say hello. How are you doing? And she remembered one of the things that I told her, and she checked in on it. Didn't cost her anything, right? But it made a huge impact on the experience. So let's break down on one of the other areas that I like to dive into and help with this process. So this is the high touch, what I call slash high tech model. So creating kind of the luxury level experience, but at any price point. So a few key areas and how to do this is anticipating needs being one step ahead. And again, you can do this on a level that is larger and it's not overly impacting your time and effort. Deliver personalization. Small details create that big impact. That one just text really made a big impact. Build emotional loyalty. So clients remember ultimately how you made them feel. How many times have you gone out, if you think of it on this way too, gone out and had experiences that are really memorable and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a great feeling. I had a really positive, maybe I was having a really negative day. And on the other side of the coin, how many situations have you come across where the service is so bad you're almost driven to go to like Yelp or something like that to share it because you don't want people to experience that? So an example of this also is kind of what I would call the surprise and delight strategy. So maybe before closing, an example of this would be sending a local restaurant recommendation. So what this does is kind of lets that client know that you have some expertise in the area. You're setting yourself up for somebody that they can go to and get recommendations for, even in the future. And maybe it could be based on something that you know that they already like. Maybe they said, well, if like for example, I don't eat gluten, like this person doesn't eat gluten. Well, you're probably not going to want to recommend a pasta place, right? So maybe just taking the time to have a couple restaurants or one that's nearby. Hey, have you tried this? I know moving in is really hard. I know it's coming up, but this place is fast, easy, and it's really good. After closing, giving a move-in checklist or concierge guide. Perfect, because there's always 25,000 things to do after closing and then moving in, right? There's a lot on your client's plate. 3 months later, and these are things I'm going to go into as how to specifically put this in for strategy two and make it more efficient. But 3 months later, send a handwritten note or voice memo, whatever you think that that customer would respond to better. Just saying something that would be, hey, I want to check in, how are things going? And maybe bring up one thing that you could reference. So again, one of these kind of AI enhancements is use ChatGPT to draft personalized check-in emails and for clients based on their home needs. Of course, like maybe they had a kitchen remodel that you knew that they were going to be doing. How's that coming along? Generate holiday and birthday messages that feel authentic and not generic. And by putting in the personalized information before you ask for that information back is how that really helps in personalizing it and creating that connection too. So let's also talk about efficiency without losing that human touch. I've kind of touched on this a little bit, and I know that there are so many times that you're like, here 25 times, okay, CRM, 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 right? And I know lots of agents that maybe are just like, I don't want to use a CRM. So I always like to give a few different options. And my belief is that our CRM's absolutely useful 110%, but it's not useful if you're afraid to use it, you don't want to use it, or it's something that you feel is just too big for you to learn at the moment. So if there's other options for you to use in the meantime, I say absolutely go and use those, because that information that you're using can always be transferred later if it's a level of comfort, right? So there's a few options like project management software like Trello, like Notion, ClickUp. These are three areas where you can build visual task boards, client follow-ups. You can buy templates in all of these that would track all this information, even if it's between $10 and $30. Like, it's amazing what is out there. And if you're wondering where to find it, go to Etsy, first great place to start. Things like Google Keep, Apple Notes, saving quick notes about client reminders. I'm a big person for even notes on my phone and creating reminders out of that. It's very interesting. Some of the agents that I would work with and I've known did not start in a CRM. They started in Google Spreadsheets and Gmail. So it can definitely be done if that's where your level of comfort is. But the biggest thing, my belief and what I've seen to catapult to greater success is not letting, like, if you don't have an understanding of a CRM or afraid to use it, or like, this is going to take me 20 hours to learn, just put that on pause right now and use something else that you can use for right now. Um, Again, voice memos are great, follow-up messages, and I see this more and more in the Gen Z version. I mean, I don't know if you all see this, but I see it a lot, and I'm starting to think, I'm like, why am I not doing this? So why am I not sending voice notes? And it's something that's very useful and it helps with efficiency as well. So again, a call out around AI enhancement. Using ChatGPT, a few ideas around this is automate a simple weekly check-in plan. So maybe you have it in like your ClickUp, in your Asana or something like that. Maybe you're just putting it in your calendar, or maybe you're using an Excel spreadsheet to where you know you need to check that box. On Mondays, I'm texting at least 3 past clients. And when I've seen us, even if it's just a simple plan being put in place, the propensity to have more business and feeling more success and feeling like you're more organized and you're getting accomplishments done is huge. So, like, say, Monday, text 3 past clients. Wednesday, send a helpful home ownership tip to a client. And this doesn't even have to be these components, but it's the consistency that you're able to commit to is the absolute key. So Friday, post a personal real estate story on social media. Maybe it's using voice to text like AI tools. There's a tool called otter.ai, and you can, if you're in your car and you want to pull over and you say, well, I don't want to sit here and type, right? Kind of goes back to that voice notes. But with Otter AI, excuse me, you can talk into your phone, into the app. It'll take notes for you, and you can email it to yourself too. So even if it's something that you want to take that and use in your calendar for follow-up, or it's something that you want to take notes on and put into your note system or CRM, then you can do that too. It just kind of takes you from where you find that complication to a point to where you can get it accomplishment with ease. So let's take a look at two. It's like, okay, well, let's break it down further. So what does that look like in regards to lifetime advocate strategy, diving deeper into that? So the 3 pillars of lifetime advocate strategy are competency, service, and consistency. So let's dive into that a little more, and I'll explain kind of what I mean by that. So competency being the most knowledgeable agent. So this really comes into also, what are your specialties? What are you really good at? Is it something that you're really good at in certain neighborhoods? Maybe you know the community really well. Maybe you have a passion for architecture and you know exactly how these homes are built. Maybe you're somebody that is really good at new builds, right? You have a lot in that area, and you know that you can help customers, go through that process with that advocate, actual advocate, right? Recently, I follow a few different agents, and I'm always looking to see what other people are doing. And there was a team that they're on YouTube. They have fantastic videos. And I'm telling you right now, there's nothing like, they're not high production, right? They're just hugely knowledgeable in what they're doing about new builds. And they actually take people through the process via YouTube of how they're going and doing their walkthroughs and why it is so essential to have a real estate agent during that process. And I knew this, right? But after even watching the one video, I was like, this is genius, because they're going through and putting tape on all the little things that need to be fixed. And you should have seen all the tape, like the visual component of connecting that to maybe an issue or a problem that is easily identifiable was fantastic. So having that competency and bringing it forward to really let your customers know what you are really good at. So, of course, always educating first and then selling second. Providing market insights, not just listings, right? Taking that little step further to give a little bit more information that's already in your head more than likely, but you probably just have not sent out, communicated with your clientele. Because even in like any industry we're in, right? Sometimes when I was even in e-commerce, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is common knowledge. No, it's not. It's not common knowledge, right? So the things that sometimes we take advantage of, like, oh, all people know that. No, they don't. If you even think about the 5 most common questions that you get asked, this is content for you, right? This is something that people rarely want to know about. So sending valuable content, right? Homeowner tips, real estate trends, tax saving strategies, tips in life, location, and homeownership. And what I mean about tips in life, anything that's associated with homeownership, with life that could connect you with them. Maybe there's recommendations that you want to talk about. Maybe you want to form, I think I give an example of this, a like a Facebook group just for your past clientele, where you're able to give recommendations on tax consultants, on investment people, on different restaurants, on different things within the community. What's going on every month in the summer? What are the best places? Like every year when my kids were little, I would have to plan, right, their summer months in advance. So knowing if you have families within your area, what are the best areas for the camps, things like that. And you're providing extremely valuable information. So also, here we go with so the AI enhancement component. So how do we do that a little bit more efficiently? So generating weekly emails in seconds, really in newsletters. And again, taking that personalized knowledge, feeding into ChatGPT so it knows a little bit about you, right? It knows those personal items, and it knows those things that you're really good at, and it can create a personalized newsletter in seconds. Write market updates in simple terms for clients, right? And I think that goes back to a little bit about, okay, well, I know why it's really important for people to know how many homes have been sold. What's the turnover rate, things like that. But most average people aren't thinking of that, right? So explaining why that is important is a really big deal. Creating maybe a blog or social media post without spending hours brainstorming, right? You can do this within a couple of minutes. That other component is service, how to create that standout experience. Again, I mentioned a little bit earlier, clients really remember how you made them feel. So one of the questions, I have a branding course that I go through, and I have a workbook that goes with it. And one of the questions I always ask is, how do you want to make them feel? Like, what is that feeling that you want them to take away with them? And if they were to share, what would that be? Maybe it's just like, oh my gosh, I feel so content. I'm happy. I just feel positive because I know I can hand everything over to this person and I'm not going to have to worry. How big is that, right? The other thing is to kind of think about, if I were to say, if there's maybe 1 to 3 things that I would want words associated with me, what would those be? And then also understanding if there's a particular word or description that I don't want associated with me, right? So that's always something good to be aware too. And this is really helpful as well when you're creating content of any type. So small, thoughtful touches that make you unforgettable, right? Those touch points, you're creating a stickiness between you and your current client and potential clients. And that's really what we're after. And also follow the give before you get rule, providing value before asking for referrals. Because even like I go back to some of my luxury days, was that if they feel that there's something of value that they're getting, they will honestly 110% recommend you. And there will be sometimes clients that you would think, well, I'm not going to be able to get them like during closing to take a picture or anything like that. But these also might be the clients that will recommend you, write reviews, but also go to their friends and recommend you. And that's really what we're after here too. So this one also is, okay, the third one, consistency, building a referral driven business. So again, what is the biggest mistake is not following up consistently. And I said, this is what I mentioned before. It's really easy to have this happen. And I think that we all know that. We know that this is probably something we need to do, but there's almost like a stop to where, but how do I do this? How do I make it easy on myself to where I can set up something consistently, but I'm not spending so much time and so much effort and it's taking out of my business? One of the biggest things when I would work with agents quite a lot was that I don't have time for this because I need to be out in front of people, which makes total sense, right? So how do we get it to where it is efficient on the back end? You're spending a certain amount of time, but it's not half your time, right? Because you want to create that base for your business to help it grow and help nurture it. But it's like you don't want to spend all of that because you have other things to do, right? You need to be in front of people, having those connections, doing those sales calls, going to events, things like that. So a simple plan to kind of come up with to start is one is, again, having just that consistency does not have to be even these components. 30 days after closing, call in, like maybe it's a text, maybe it's a call, right? It's something that you can do on your checkoff list. You can do in your Excel spreadsheet or your Google Sheets. You can build it into your CRM for action items. 90 days. Maybe it's a homeownership tip or a local event invite, right? Even like where I live, there's a ton of things going on in the spring. Maybe there's something going on with, that they are involved in like healthy eating or anything like that. Farmers market, perfect. When is that? I always forget, right? It's something that helps with that process. And it's a great entry just to reach out and say, hey, did you know I wanted to, send a friendly reminder. I know you love these. It's coming up, right? It's something that, in all honesty, all you have to do is put it on your calendar. So 6 months, how's the home treating you? Getting that feedback. Maybe it's text, maybe it's phone, maybe it's email. And maybe it's something that that excuse me, whatever kind of communication, if you happen to know that they respond better to. Now, for example, on average, texts get about 90% conversion rate in opening a response. But of course, we want them to know you right before you send a text. Because if you've been around in in real estate, I know agents can completely identify with this. I've gotten 5 random texts today from people trying to sell me healthcare coverage, right? We don't want that. We don't want to be that person. We just want to be that person. Hey, maybe it's a friendly reminder of who you are if you haven't talked to them in a few months. I wanted to let you know and check in on how your home is treating you. I know that you're going through a kitchen remodel. How does it look? Can you send me pictures? I'm so excited for you, even if it's something as simple as that. And then 12 months, that home anniversary surprise, right? Maybe it's just like, hey, congratulations on your home. It's been 12 months. And maybe if you want to run something with how much the home is appreciated, if you were to sell your home today, what a great investment, things like that. And again, you have that AI enhancement component. Maybe schedule pre-written messages for check-ins. So it's not something where you have to come up every time. You can create pre-written messages that you can draw on and hit copy and paste. If you have a CRM that can set this up for you and just deliver them on their own without you even having to do anything except for check a box, even better. Generating quick real estate tips to share on social media. This is something that is a great idea, especially if you're active on really any of the channels, right? Maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's LinkedIn, maybe it's Facebook. But anytime that you have your one main channel and you have had a closing, you've had anything happening where you've had a touch point, reach out to them via that social media channel and see if you can connect with them. Excuse me, generate, excuse me, AI-powered video scripts for client updates. Fantastic. It kind of goes to that like voice recording concept. Again, voice recordings are great if you're like, I just don't want to be on, video right now. Fantastic. But you can also do a short video that you can record and use in generalized ways to where you're just following up, checking in. Maybe you're putting together a quick script to say hello. And it doesn't have to have the person's name on it. Now, you can, if you want to, there's other things that have come out that are starting to do this where you can add in, someone's phone, I'm sorry, someone's name at the beginning through AI. But if you just want to make it quick and easy, you can record it on your phone, put it in your saved files within your phone. Excuse me. And when you have that time that comes up, you're like, oh, I know I need to send this out. Boom, there you go. It the idea here is to create those walls and those things that are preventing you from doing these things, because once we remove those walls, you have a higher propensity to take these actions, and those actions have a higher propensity to give you business. So let's dive into just a little bit more of how to implement that. So what does that look like? So I kind of put together a kind of mini advocate action plan with additional 3 simple steps. So one is personalize every interaction. Again, going back to some of those ideas, using AI to give you that efficiency is use AI powered scripts to sound like you and not a robot, right? We don't want that. We want that personalization for yourself. And how you do that is really teaching, like, for example, ChatGPT about you. And as you start using it, if you've already started using it, fantastic, you could still input this information. If you're starting to use it, I always recommend doing an initial brain dump, right? And so what do I mean by that? So brain dump is, I am a real estate agent. I work in this area. These are my specialties. These are the things I'm really good at. This is how I love to connect with clients. I'm struggling in this area. I really want my clients to feel like this every time that they have an interaction with me. Those types of things are the things that are going to lead ChatGPT to make it more personalized for you and your business. And then keep a client insights list with their hobbies, pets, and life events. Again, if you're not using a CRM right now, this is something that you can use even in an Excel spreadsheet. But these are those little components that you're going to pull on to make it that personalized, higher touch experience. And then step 2, make tech work for you, right? We've been kind of talking about this as we go. Pick one system. So I've been talking about using different alternatives, but just picking one to start with, right? Making it easy on yourself. You don't have to use a CRM plus Google Sheets or anything like that. If you're going to be using your CRM, you really utilize that CRM. If you're not comfortable with that yet, pick maybe a Google Sheets, a tracker sheet. Maybe you're more comfortable, you've worked in different projects and things like that. And like, hey, I really know Asana. Perfect. Use that one. Use what works for you, and that's going to let you take those actions just with consistency. And then automate follow-ups, but keep them personal, right? So you're having that automation, you're creating that efficiency for you, you're taking down those barriers, but you're keeping it personal because you're also feeding, whether it be ChatGPT or another AI component, that information about you and your particular client. So another way to do this also is build a community, not just a client. I listen to different podcasts and things like that all the time. And one particular one, it's on BAM. I don't know, maybe some people know about it. It's a real estate. They have a platform. It's like a news platform. And then they also have a podcast. And one particular agent was really interesting. She took this whole concept really a whole even, I mean, probably a lifetime further, which was fantastic to hear about. And what she was doing was that she found that a lot of her clients, she was doing business, but wanted to go even further. She wanted to really grow her business. Every year she would set herself goals. And through feedback and talking to her clients, she would find that one, there was a kind of like a white space concept to where a lot of our clients would need tools, right? Who doesn't really need tools? And they found that most of them don't have a whole tool set. They don't have a workbench in their garage or anything like that. So what she did was she created like a little tool area where they could come over, and it's almost like a little tool storage. And all her clients, as long as they had worked with her before, could rent or like for free, take any tool that they wanted and bring them back. And this created such a level of stickiness and connection. People were starting to hear about it and were getting really excited. And so she created like a Facebook page around it, that sort of thing for past clients, and you got invited to it. The other thing that she did after feedback was bought a moving truck, right? She bought a moving truck because what do you do when you buy a home? You have to move, right? So she bought one, and then you could only use it if you were a past client. And then people could use it if you have little moves. Maybe you go buy furniture, something like that, and you could sign up for it. Then she took it a step further and actually put ads for herself and other people on the truck. And then she actually charged for it. She also created a community group that her clients only got access to preferred vendors through that community group and joining. So it's very interesting if you kind of think about this in a way that is maybe a little bit outside of the norm, but gives you that access into consumer first. What is it that they really need and adapting to that, right? And like I said, starting that Facebook group for past clients, you could also host quarterly client appreciation events. And this could be something that is great, is a little bit different. Maybe it's something that you have even at your home. It doesn't have to, you don't have to spend a huge amount of money, but it's something that you could invite people over. If you have a specialty chef in the family, fantastic, utilize that, right? And becoming the go-to expert in your local area, being known for what you're really good at is really key. And again, those AI enhancements, what does that look like? So the chat GPT idea is draft client event invitation emails in seconds. Really, you could do this really quickly. If you're a Canva user, even better, they'll look fantastic in there by creating those. Write engaging captions for social media posts, generate home maintenance tips for client check-ins. So these are all just really simple ideas that could be expanded on and taken even further, like the agent that I just referenced. So with that, wrapping it up, of course, is really success in real estate isn't just really about sales, right? It's about service, connection, and consistency. And so with that, here is my QR code. If you would like to scan that, it goes to my little landing page at the top. It does have what I call a client touchpoint strategy sheet, and I'll show you that here. This is kind of what it looks like. Obviously, I'm a Canva user, but and I'll bring it back to the QR code if you didn't get it. And it kind of goes through here. It's a 5-step touch point strategy, and it goes through like the first 30 days and it leads also to your goal and what simple steps you can use during that time, and then what type of AI tip is associated with that particular step. So I hope that I was able to give you some great information today, and you can take some of those things with you to take actionable steps tomorrow. Any questions?
I don't see any particular questions, but I liked the end there. I thought was really interesting. The Facebook community group. I don't think I've ever really thought or heard about. Maybe people do it and I don't know, but I thought that was interesting. So I love that idea. And the QR code I was able to bring up. So if you haven't scanned it or anything, we send an email afterwards with the recording, and I'll definitely attach this, which was the strategy guide, right? I think, is that the
Yes.
right link I'm on? Okay.
Mhm.
Which is pretty thorough. It gives you pretty detailed steps, and then the AI tips on the bottom, like Jennifer mentioned. So that's great. So I hope you guys found some good information in this and some takeaways, and we'll definitely follow up with the video and the touch point guide via email. So if you need us, you know where to find us. Rally Point Title. We're here to help you in any way that we can. So let us know if you need anything. But thank you for coming. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Take
right,
care.
bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.